I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters, not the mortgage, not the store, not my team and all their bullshit. For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free.
On your mark. Get set. Welcome to Now Playing Fast and Furious Retrospective Series.
It's gonna be an all time of the night.
Bet you're gonna enjoy this.
Hosted by Arnie.
But man, I don't just think outside the box. I tear it up. It's my thing.
Stuart.
You're the last person in the world I expected to show up.
And Jacob.
Like it or not, you and your friends are a part of it now.
I don't have friends. I got family.
These podcasts contain detailed plot spoilers, harsh language, and incentive to drive beyond the posted speed limit.
I'm gonna enjoy what happens next.
Listener discretion is advised.
Only live once. Let's do it. Talking over race.
Let's race.
Today, we're discussing The Fast and the Furious.
I know who the Furious is in this group of hosts.
Starring Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Rick Yoon. Directed by Rob Cohen. This is Arnie. You want some ass? Go to Hollywood Boulevard. You want a podcast? You're here at Now Playing.
I need Nas. Stuart in L.A.
This is your sandwich crazy host, Jacob.
Well, before we get fast and furious about this franchise, let's start with a plug. In case you didn't hear on our review of Kingsman that we did last week live and then released a couple days later edited, we are doing a Kickstarter. We are trying to take the transition off the headphones and onto the page.
I'm really excited about this part. I'm curious why we're talking about great underrated movies in a book and promoting it on Fast and the Furious. The whole concept is we are going to get 100 reviews from the Now Playing hosts that detail movies that slip through the cracks. Either they feature people you know and like but just didn't get the same attention their movies normally do, or you heard too much negative about it and we're here to defend it. But it'll be 100 reviews. At least one person in every review is going to be making that pitch. It's an underrated film.
Yeah, it's really 300 reviews in one book of 100 movies, because at Now Playing, 3 hosts to a podcast, 3 people will be reviewing each movie. The person who recommends the film is doing the primary review, and then 2 co-hosts are either going to agree or disagree. But in the end, you will have 3 ratings and at least 1 strong recommend coming from the host who put it in the book.
But we do need help because books are expensive. It's a dying art, and it's not cheap to put a book together. Even an electronic book costs real money. It's artwork.
Lawyers, editors.
Yes. So much expense. When Arnie, you were going line item by line item, I was stunned. So we do need listener support for this, and that's why we've created a Kickstarter campaign with all kinds of incentives to help us reach goals.
That's right. And remember, we need to reach our goals for these incentives to pay out. But if we reach those goals, people who have been asking for the Aliens podcast to be released from the vault, you can get it. People who want every podcast we've ever done released from the vault, you can get that. Our final remaining DVD sets, those are there. Have you ever thought about joining us for a review on this show to be put out to all of our listeners? You can do that. We need your support in order to make this happen. And we need more engagement than we get on any donation drive we've ever done. We're hoping that the goal of having a physical item in your hand that you can have from Now Playing instead of just a downloadable MP3 like we put out for free every week is going to help those of you who sit on the sidelines every donation drive and just listen to our free show to really support us and Again, we didn't put big salaries for ourselves in here. Very honest.
You mean I'm not going to retire off this?
Retire? You're not going to make a month's rent. We're lucky if we're not paying out of our own pockets before this is all said and done. But yes, in order to do it right, in order to do it legally, requires lawyers. That's not cheap. Anyone who's ever had to deal with a lawyer knows that's not cheap. We want to make this a pretty book and not just page after page of text. So we've gotten the illustrator who did our DVD cover to do some art inside the book. Having an editor come in to make sure that we are well written on the page and we're not just going to be basically taking blog articles and selling them to you. We're doing everything we can to make this a really great product for you to read and really bring the quality that hopefully you've come to expect from us. But this is only going on for 30 days. Make or break, 30 days. We could have done a 60-day Kickstarter. We're just going 30 days until March 19th to meet our main goal, or preferably our stretch goal. Our first stretch goal is really, I think, all of our real goal. We want to have a printed, hardcover, gorgeously bound book that everyone can put on their bookshelf. And for that to happen, we need stretch goal number 1, because honestly, just the cost of printing those books in China and shipping them here is over $40,000. And we can't afford that. No donation drive we've ever done, if 100% of it went to that, could afford that. We need your help to kickstart this thing. Kickstarter is a great name for what we're trying to do. Help kickstart Now Playing into the future.
Yeah, it's a great way. I think we're all going to be talking about movies that we would never get a chance to do on the podcast. So there's going to be a lot of variety. Arnie, Marjorie, Stuart, and myself each doing 25 main reviews with supplemental reviews. It's a great opportunity to really get to know our taste even more and what we like and what we feel is underrated.
A lot of Kickstarter rewards out there. We hope that you'll support us and really make this go. We want to have a 10-second Kickstarter donation, like in The Fast and the Furious has a 10-second car. So all the details and the link to our Kickstarter is at our homepage, nowplayingpodcast.com. But now from movies we recommend to the movie we're discussing tonight.
Right? Seriously, I was only half kidding that I need nitrous oxide. You know, I've been living a privileged life for a while. You know, I think I started working on Now Playing as the naysayer that had to sit through all these crappy slasher movies and hated it and red arrowed it. And then when you look at the last 6 months, Christopher Nolan, Maniac, Oceans, Richard Linklater, Lord of the Rings, Dead Zone, I think it was mostly green arrows for me. I really did like everything I was watching. And now I think I've hit a speed bump because this is so outside the kind of movie I would ever watch. I'm not saying I won't like any of them. Arnie, you assure me that it gets better down the road, but I mean, if you were going to manufacture something that I never wanted to watch, I think that it would look something like this.
And I'm kind of there with you, Stuart. Maybe someday I would have watched these when nothing better was available. But I feel like with the Fast and the Furious, I've been promised by Arnie, I got to sit through 4 films I'm not going to like to get to the good stuff. Oddly enough, my brother has told me the same thing, not knowing that you ever told me that, Arnie. He's like, oh, you're not going to like the first 4 films, but you get to that 5th one. But the reason I'm even excited, I remember we started talking about doing this a few years ago. I saw that trailer during the Super Bowl for Part 6. There was a tank. There was like a car with this rig to flip other cars on it. I don't know. It reminded me of Mad Max, and we're going to get to that later this year. I love that trilogy. And so it's not going to be great art. It's not going to be those Linklater films, but they look like a lot of fun. At least that Part 6 did. So I'm excited to get to Part 6 because that's the only thing I've ever been excited about when it comes to the Fast and the Furious.
And he's not joking. You have talked about that tank for years. For years. I don't even remember it. I'm sure I saw the trailer. I'm like, was there a tank in there? Okay. But the point is, you've waited, right? I haven't seen any of these movies. Jacob, you haven't seen any of these movies. We're both newbies.
And I am the fan of this franchise. Pedal to the metal. I am the person who's been championing it. Now, there's a few reasons I've been championing this. This is one of the top grossing film franchises of all time.
What? I know you've quoted that before. I know for Universal, which is quite frankly a failing film studio, it's kept them afloat. But really? This is one of the big ones?
This franchise has made close to $1 billion and will certainly exceed $1 billion with the next installment. And that puts it up there above Hunger Games. It's about the same as Star Trek and about the same as Pirates of the Caribbean. Above it, really, we have Twilight, Transformers, X-Men, Shrek, Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings, Batman, Avengers, and Bond, and Star Wars, and Harry Potter. But I mean, this is in the upper echelon. People are saying, why are you reviewing Fast and the Furious? Go to Box Office Mojo, look at the top franchises of all time, then scratch off the ones we've done, and then look at what's left. We got Fast and Furious, Twilight, and Star Wars.
Well, who knows? Maybe this is an underrated gem. Perhaps one of us will write about it in our Kickstarter book.
It could be.
It does say something that we've had 7 of these films. Like, there's got to be something to them. I remember when we did Final Destination, Arnie, I was into that, but that was a franchise, for the most part, that I ended up really liking. So I do have a little bit of hope with this one.
And I did tell you both that Part 5 is the place where we can hold out hope, because in my mind, Part 5 is where this franchise turns a corner and really becomes something else. It basically,
like most franchises, you got to get to the 5th part.
Yeah, who ever heard of that? The Part 5, the best.
Yeah, usually not. I mean, certainly not for Star Trek. But that doesn't mean I think these first 4 films are utter shit we've got to drag ourselves through in order to get to Part 5. I mean, obviously this franchise was doing something right to get to Part 5. And I have seen all the films of this franchise, save one, in theaters. I saw The Fast and the Furious in theaters opening weekend.
And here I was thinking I knew no one that saw this. I mean, we didn't talk about it then, because not only did I not see this movie, I didn't know anyone, I thought, who did. It just felt like it was for a younger generation, or just for people that really like car culture. I mean, it should be said, I've had 2 cars in my life, and neither one of them would you want to drag race.
You didn't ever drag race a Jetta?
Yeah, I did find this part interesting, and the only research I did before this viewing was I read the original newspaper article about the truth behind this, about street racing culture. I thought, what makes this interesting to me is that, yeah, these aren't the coolest cars ever invented. They're actually kind of like your grandma's Civic that his exhibit or somebody pimped the ride, and now it's the fastest car on earth.
Yeah, put 100 G's of engine in there.
Yeah. I came out of this movie. I saw it with a whole bunch of friends, and we were kind of into cars, and I was not the most into cars as the others. I've prided myself on my ride, and Stuart has gripped the arms of his bucket seat furiously as I've made some maneuvers that he didn't deem safe.
Let me just add, my favorite thing you've ever said, Arnie, is why do they put these here as you hit the 10th speed bump? He had no idea. They were like, they hurt! I'm like, yes, when you hit it at 70 miles an hour, they really do. I'll pull my pelvis out of my face one day.
I was being facetious. I knew why they were there. I might have been getting a little bit of air on them, though. So I took them as a challenge more than as a deterrent. I was being funny, but I was still driving over them at a rate that my shock absorbers may not have appreciated.
Yes.
But I left and I was making fun of these cars because I thought if you wanted to race, you bought a Ferrari, you bought a Lamborghini, you bought a Corvette, and that they were driving Civics and Sentras. And one of my friends who really got into pimping his own ride, and for all I know might have been drag racing on the side, was like, no, that's what you want. What's in there, none of it's from the factory. You want a light fiberglass body. You don't want a steel American-made car because that's going to slow you down. That's extra weight. You take one of those cars, and I really became steeped in this thanks to the copious Blu-ray features. I mean, there were entire features on the history of drag race culture, and truthfully, this is an attainable thing by most teenagers that you can just take your mom's Sentra or your mom's Civic, and for as little as $10,000, you can pimp that ride to a car that can start competing in these races.
Or you could write a book for not playing. It's all about perspective.
Or donate so we can write the book.
There you go. Why put your life at risk? I mean, follow the PSA that's on the DVD I saw.
Ooh.
That was a little unfortunate. I think we should just talk about this right at the beginning because There will be some uncomfortable moments, such as when I'm going through the bonus features and there's a public service announcement from Paul Walker telling the entire audience what I just hope he was telling the driver of the car he died in, that these stunts were done on a closed set by professionals who've been trained in this.
Be smart, drive safe, stay legal. Ugh, it's painful. It's so darkly ironic. I couldn't even laugh. I choked. I think I literally choked when I saw this.